I just wanted to say that additionally, thoughts have come up that compels me to say this. I don't know how much value it can be placed into this, but getting back to Nicholas II's uniform with those cigar holders in there, I'm going to throw that picture up again. I want you to take a look at it. What I'm getting at is the top part of that uniform, as far as the Marine Corps is concerned, they call that a blouse. So let's just call that a blouse here too. What is significant is the cigar bandolier. It fit underneath his decorations, his medals, and we had a blouse with his uniform that the medals were just without that cigar container, that bandolier for cigars. Those medals just hung on there as loose as could be because they were suspended, designed to suspend away from the chest to allow for those bandoliers, that bandolier to be worn underneath the medals. The other thing is, I can't seem to get away from the thought that the one that we had a real dark green, like a pine green, or the darkest olive you could get. And so is this the one in the photograph? Who knows? Could be. But nevertheless, the blouse that I remember, and there were several tops in there, and several trousers. Nicholas was a tall guy. I remember I pulled the trousers up one time. I thought there had to be my grandfather's stuff that had arrived until, you know, but they wouldn't fit my grandfather. Nicholas was a tall guy. You know, those trousers were long. But the blouse that I remember, the one blouse was maybe a khaki color or a light brown, but nevertheless, let's throw that picture up and then we'll continue on here. This is the birch egg. It is the last egg, I believe, that I've read that was delivered to the family. It is the second picture here. The first one was a mistake, but I didn't want to lose all my information here on the video. Additionally, what is significant about the birch egg was Russia was going through an economic crisis at the time. I think a lot of things that led up to the demise of the Romanov family was how many Russians were lost in their war, and it was reflected back onto the imperial rule, as how the Bolsheviks were able to politically attack the family and then take over. But nevertheless, the birch egg was designed to be an economic expression. We have this egg. There was reported to be, or there's a document out there, and I'll bring it up. I remember 3 pieces of paper with this egg. One of them may have been an envelope that the other 2 pieces of paper were in. But what is missing today is a gold piece of paper, something that was real thin, something that you could put your hand behind it and you could see the shadows fairly easy without much light being behind the paper. It was very thin. And at the top of the page, it said Faberge in Russian. You know, we were familiar with that. We were able to figure that out. But that gold piece of paper, that's missing today. Well, did I destroy that? I don't know. It's possible. Anything's possible now, now that we reflect back. But I'll bring up that other piece of paper, because as I do, these things, they always seem to bring back recollections, but I'll just show you what I found. So let's go find that. Okay, here's what appears to be the invoice on the birch egg, and I don't think it's too difficult as when we figured it out as kids. At the top of the page, I believe that stands for Carl Faberge. There was enough of that around the stampings on the pieces that, you know, eventually we figured it out, even as little kids. But there's the sheet that I wanted. I promise you, a gold piece of paper and or the envelope is missing today, and it came with this egg. There's so much more to cover right now, and I want to get on with this. I hate going back and doing stuff. It bothers me that I'm incomplete at times, but gee, maybe we'll save that for a book someday and then really cover some ground. But I want to get on with some crowns here. We had a whole bunch of crowns, and I've got them all in here. Isn't that I just went out and collected pictures of crowns. I picked up the pictures of the crowns that we had. So anyway, let's get started with that. I know you've seen this before, but have you noticed there's a pearl missing on that left strand there at the bottom? This is a Georgian crown, 16th century. Now the reason why I brought this up is we had this, and it was made out of a thick wool or felt. What I found in my other investigations years ago was back in the day, shoes, some did not have leather, they had felt, a thick felt on the bottom. Well, that's what this type of fabric was. We had this, and we had some very ornate crowns that I'm going to share with you, try to get through on how much of it I can get through in a half hour. But this was so insignificant. It was like, what the heck is this doing in here? But there it is. Let's move on to some outstanding crowns that we had in all those goods that came in. Stand by, they're coming. This is the crown of the Holy Roman Empire, German, 12th century. There is a pearl removed on that first photograph right in the front panel. I believe I took that off, and I think I took it off on purpose to remember it. Well, everything I did, any damage was to remember it, but I think I contemplated on where I was going to take that pearl off. I think this is the one that I took off, and I compared it to Alexandra's teardrop pearls that were in suspension on her crown. I believe I took it off the front panel thinking that down the road, if I ever saw this thing again, it will only be in a photograph, and where would it be removed that I would see it easiest? Well, that would be the front picture. But the secret about this particular crown is, and I have a lot of them here to share with you, is that my brother found that this crown will fold flat. It's multifaceted, as you can see, the different panels, but it will fold flat, but it'll only do it one way, and I can't remember how that happened. You may be able to pull the prong out of the rear part of that overhead piece and slip it out, and then it folds flat, but it just won't fold flat by pulling that out. You have to find the right panel to start to collapse that flat. It can only be done one way. My brother found that, and I haven't read anything on that crown to that. I don't think they knows that. They That is a secret piece of information that we found out. Nevertheless, that's just one of those crowns. But what is significant about this crown for those who own it is the jewels on the front panel are significant. They are pieces of history for those people. And the panels that go around are religious panels. Well, Holy Roman Empire, this is, I believe, what was bestowed upon the German government by the, by Rome, the Pope back in the day, I believe is how it comes down. But nevertheless, we had this. The other thing is that red cloth that's on the very top of that, it is worn. It was not ripped, I don't believe, when we got it. I think we ripped it. This is one of those things that we realized within some consciousness that it was old because of the red felt fabric on top. It felt old. It just it had that. We never saw fabric that felt like that should have been softer. There is something about it. And once it started to rip, it just started to come apart very easily. But yeah, you'll see very few photographs that reflect that. The very top of that red velvet is removed, and that's the way it was pretty much the way we got it. But in that white fabric where it's removed, where the red is removed, that started to come apart. Remember, we handled this a little bit, and we didn't handle it like somebody in a museum would. We're just kids. But we had a lot of these, and I have a lot to share with you. So let me keep moving on here. That last shot there, that is on top of the crypt of Charles VI sarcophagus in Austria. Charles VI was, he held the title of the Holy Roman Emperor, and his reign was 1711 through 1740. Now I feel confident moving forward from here. This is Saint Wenceslaus of Prague. This is his crown. Now, Saint Wenceslaus lived in the latest part of the first millennia, and I've got some stuff that you think everything else is unbelievable, but hey, wait till you see how else this continues here. That particular crown is it's a copy. Then they say it's a copy. When we found this, we thought, holy smokes, this just doesn't fit all the other crowns that we had. There was just something, as you can see, that was a lot different about it. And the copy is supposed to be exactly that, as the original was. Now, I don't know when the copy was developed, but I can say that in the 50s, in the mid-50s, when we had this stuff, maybe we had the real one. It's real. This one looks really inviting to detach these precious stones from, but no, I don't believe I touched this one at all. There was just something different about it. I left it alone. So we'll go on from here. This is St. Wenceslaus' sword and reliquary, that little ball and a cross on it there. I can say that I first saw a picture of the handle on that sword that almost looks like a piece of glass, and then that fabric on the grip. Let me tell you, that thing didn't look old at all. I don't know when the sword was developed, but man, even the blade in the military is called parkerizing on metal. It helps prevent it from rusting. But this blade, I mean, and that whole thing, it looked modern. But of course, there's stuff that was made hundreds of years ago that was so well done, you know, that you'd think it was today. But nevertheless, I wanted to speak a little bit about that reliquary there. That was difficult to handle. It was about the size of a grapefruit. There were compartments inside there. And at one time, through deep thought, I came up with, there were 3 things inside that reliquary. It was wooden. I believe there were 3 little hook attachments that kept it together. And I remember dropping that on the ground. I think I even knocked one of those little hooks loose and probably pressed it back into place. But nevertheless, there were 3 items inside there. And being that this is of religious significance, I don't think that I should be telling anybody what I found inside there. But there were 3 things in there. I remember 2 of them now. I think I have it written down what I thought the 3rd thing was. But no, I'm not going to tell you what's in there. That's something I'm going to hold inside me. I'm not going to tell anybody ever. Because I don't think it's right, being it appears to be a religious significance. No. There were 3 things inside there. And it's time to move on to our next item here. This is the Bavarian crown jewels, the Queen's crown, King's pillow, and sword, and the belt that holds the sword, and specifically the Queen's crown. I'll go over that with you in a minute. This is what I remember about the Bavarian crown jewels. It was in a container, and my brother found it. We had a whole bunch of containers surrounding an area, and it was something that I just couldn't stand up alongside of because my brother was in front of it, and I couldn't get around him to get in there. And he discovered this crown. And the other thing about the picture is you'll see some kind of a golden, like an award where that drapes around the neck. I believe we had that too. But what is significant is, as well as, I handled the belt that the sword attaches to. And that was the only thing I got to, I believe, handle that particular day. And the sword itself, my brother had that and pulled it out. That was an amazing sword. Still, it was so amazing that we couldn't believe it was real. Remember, we're going in between reality and fascination. All this, it was when I think about it, it was, gosh, the fact that we were able to maintain our sanity was something else. Good thing we were at a young age. But yeah, that was a wonderful sword, and that belt piece there too. But the Queen's crown, and yes, I damaged that crown. If you want to go back and look at that, my brother had at some point irritated me. He pissed me off, and it could have been that instance where he found that and he had everything. I reached over his shoulder and I pushed down on the center of her crown, the Queen's crown, and I pushed that piece all the way into the center. Obviously, I had previous experience in doing that, but yeah, I pushed that. If you want to go out there, just Google and just put in Bavarian crown jewels, you'll get a lot of pictures of that, and you want to look around it. It got bent. It's still out of shape. I did that. It was perfect when we got it, but I did that. And so, yeah, I just picked up another, photograph for myself here. That was the Queen of Bavaria's crown, 1806, per Napoleon, which I believe then that, as I remember, Napoleon gave that crown to Bavaria to help establish a monarchy there. So there's a lot more to go here. Let's see how much we can get done in a half an hour. And one more additional point that was significant to me in our experience. This pillow, when we found it, we started throwing it around the garage. And one of the tassels came off. And I don't know if they've ever replaced it. Any of the photographs, I think all you can see is two. Well, one of those tassels came all the way off. And when it did, it kind of really showed that this lion's head on this pillow. I actually tried to remove one of those end-piece lion heads. I couldn't do it. But again, we threw this pillow around that garage just like it was a frisbee, and it received a little bit of, let's call it lack of attention, or a whole lot of attention in the wrong way. But yeah, that's the other important thing about that pillow is we threw it around the garage, and I'd throw it by the tassel. I'd hold on to the tassel and then fling it. No wonder one of those came off. Luckily, we didn't destroy the hell out of it, but, you know, there's only certain things that I remember, especially on this segment with the, what is the Bavarian crown jewels. There's so much, you know, they've got an orb too, and, you know, some things I didn't handle or got to see very often. I'm only trying to record what I absolutely know about, what I suspect, but I'm not going to fantasize about some of the things that I don't remember that crown. That may have been the piece that my brother had and wouldn't let me see it since I was doing everything else. Probably after I squashed the Queen's crown in, that was probably the limit right there. He wasn't going to let me touch this. But anyway, I want to remember to say that we had that pillow and we flung it around like it was a frisbee inside that garage. So let's see what we got. This is the Crown of Skanderberg, 15th century Vienna. What is significant about the Crown of Skanderberg is I removed a lot of material off that. In fact, I even broke one of the ears off. One of the things that I really when I was a kid is I thought that goat that was sitting on top of that helmet, I thought that was done so well, but the ears looked like they were just rolled out of a thin piece of sheeting over a, you know, a round flat tube, and there was nothing, it just didn't look like it was finished because the ears didn't match the, let's say, the sculpturing of the rest of the piece. In fact, I broke one of the ears off, and I can't remember which one it was. And I remember I didn't realize it was, because it was difficult to handle. If you lift it up by the ears, that's why it broke off. The ears are very fragile. The ear that broke off, it rolled across the ground real easily. In fact, at one point, I think I remember which ear it was that I broke off. But the other thing I wanted to mention is underneath the goat, and right mid in the helmet, there's that thick band that goes all the way around it. Well, underneath that band that ran from underneath the goat to down to the bottom band that's around that helmet, there was a thin sheet of material. And if you look underneath the goat, go back, you'll see that there's different flecks of material that are kind of peeking out. Well, there was a lot of that on there, but it was damaged when we got it, and I removed the rest of it. I think obviously maybe it was some kind of goat skin. Now I read a story about the Skanderberg. He was a warrior, and he didn't want all that opulence of gold and jewels, and he was perfectly fine with that crown right there. In fact, I think I found a monument with him wearing that that crown there, but nevertheless, I cleaned that off down to the bare metal underneath. I took all that loose, if it's goat skin, off there, and that goat skin was brittle, whatever that was. And I'm almost thinking there was two different colors of metal. I think there was white on top under the goat that went down to the band, and I see a little bit of black that's peeking out from the lower band. So white on top, black in the bottom, certainly possible, but whatever it was, I remember removing it. I took a lot off that because it didn't look, yeah, again, I was the one that made a decision back in the day. It didn't look nice with all that stuff just flaked and dried and everything else, so I took it off. So let's see where we're at. This is the crown of Heinrich II, 1270. It's in the Munich treasury. In the Munich treasury, we had this. It took me a while to pull this one out of my memory until I finally noticed the damage that I put on it to identify it down the road. Like the Holy Roman Empire crown, this one comes in segments, and each segment is held in by a pin. At the top of the pin are these leafy ornamentations. Well, the Egyptians had acanthus leaves, so I don't know, was that carried forward to this? But it almost like, you know, when you have a cocktail party or whatever, and you have these large toothpicks with some ornamentation, so that's pretty much the way this was. And they had these leaves, as I can see on this picture here, as I'm trying to remember, the damage I put on these was is I squeezed the leaves together, and in a picture, what appears to be front and center, the first acanthus leaf on the left is squeezed together. I can remember doing that. And on the right of center, it's perfect. If I remember right, I went all the way around there, squeezing all those, and I left one perfect. That's kind of the way I remember this, but we had that too. I'm only bringing up what we had. There is just so much, you know, that I remember. There is one other crown here that is significant as well as the world history, and we had more than just a crown. But we're coming up on half an hour, and I don't want to do any more than that today, or on this part. Well, we are at that half-hour limit, and I believe I'll probably be able to finish another part today. But again, I go back and I review these, and again, a half an hour is plenty for multiple reviews. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to turn your volume down. You'll get a big surprise next time you go look at something if you're not on any of these videos that I've produced. Thanks for your time.